brand new wave, drowning out the noise it's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that safe, algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're on pan. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
I am the legacy of Jennifer Kaiser. Happy belated Mother's Day, Mom. And this is Legacy News, episode 61. And the show starts now. Welcome in.
To the legacy ride.
I got us in a totally different setup here. You can see a very fond close-up of Andrew's baldness. It's in the Bible, everybody.
Go on, bald head. And then they sent a bear after him. Hey, I am a bear.
You're not a bear. You're a big cuddly teddy bear.
A circus performer. A freak.
A circus freak? I don't know.
I don't know.
You don't.
Super freak.
You don't.
Super freak. Hey.
You don't seem like the carny type. You seem like you'd be the type of person that actually looks at the carny and points and laughs. Oh, it's a bearded lady. Fight.
Are you implying I'm a mark?
No, I'm implying you're an asshole.
I'm marking out. Bye.
No, get your ass back in here. You can't escape that way. You can't escape that way. Welcome to another edition of Legacy News. Welcome to the beginning of your week. I don't know when this will be released. It could be Monday, could be Tuesday. This is the news commentary hour, half hour, whatever. I don't know. However long that we go, we have a good one for you because we're grifting off grid with Doug and Stacy because Doug he finds the goodness. He finds these good videos to talk about, man, because it's information that we need to continue to talk about. I mean, like the mRNA, like things that the legacy media has shuttered because of the distraction and the official narratives to keep you numb in a way. And it's the next best thing, right? Like the current thing. Just keep everything, all the information drive just coming so fast and so furious. Well, for those on the internet, for those who aren't on the internet, you're too busy with your mundane lives, just trying to survive and raise your families and working hard, long hours at your job, that you're not going to pay attention to much. So it's a lot easier, especially if your only cycle of news is to stay in tune to CBS 6 o'clock news or whatever, or Fox News or CNN, the communist mainstream media, right? I mean, all these talking point narratives, but they've shuttered on all of what we need to be discussing. Right now,
Yeah.
the distraction has moved to hell recently. Donald Trump has made MAGA very happy with his big announcement on Truth Social that has a lot to do with price controls pertaining towards the healthcare and the pharmaceutical industry that Kamala was talking about during the campaign season, that the MAGA-tards said, that's a commie bitch. What the fuck is this commie bitch doing? And then Trump turns around and makes his little announcement on Truth Social, and it's all over Twitter now. And MAGA is thrilled because Trump is the God King, and he's going to executive order this price control mechanism to keep to bring drug prices low to like an 80% level. I think he said from like 30% to 80% or something. I mean, what in God's name is going on in the world? Like, are we really this stupid to believe
Well,
to
there's rules to politics and there's rules to economics. And the first rule of economics and the first rule of politics is to ignore each other.
Yeah,
That's not a
politics.
literal. That's more pragmatic approach.
Oh no, it's a literal. I take it literal. I mean, I'm an agorist, so I mean, I'm anti-political. Keep the politics out of economics, because I mean, what does politics even do with economics? What does it do for it?
Boys are from Mars and women are from Venus, or something like that. There you go.
I don't know. And nowadays, I guess the narrative is boys can be girls and girls can be boys.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
some morality is fluid.
Yeah, morality is actually fluid because morality is subjective because everybody has a basis of what they think is right and what they think is wrong. And I mean, there is no objectivity in morality. If there was, then we wouldn't have free will that God gave us. You have the choice to separate yourself from the Lord through sin, and you have your choice to follow through and gravitate towards the common good that we all strive for. And I think that's the sense of it, in my opinion, is everybody striving for this common good that we get stuck into our vicious cycles. It's how you get vices. Vice and virtue are very real things, and that's where you kind of gravitate towards the aspect that, yes, morality can't be objective because you have two different pathways you can go towards, and each one of us perceives that we are striving for a better path even when we're chasing after vice. If I mean, it's not really all cut and dry. There's not really a black and white. There is a gray area for the matter, because most people do think that, well, I mean, perhaps rape is right. Perhaps rape is good. Rape in the analogy of theft. Taxation is rape, by the way, because you're being raped of your savings and your earnings. You're the fruits of your labor. That's why taxation is theft.
To say the least.
I mean, so, but as far as everything that's going fast and furious in the media today, the legacy media has effectively forgotten this. You're not going to hear much about it anymore. But let's go back to the past and jump in. Unless you have something to say, Andrew. We're going to do this a little different because I don't think we're going to just watch it full through and stay our piece. I think we're going to certain parts, certain segments, we can stop when we get to a point where we want to speak about it. But I'd say we jump into it because I think there's a lot of things that we need to discuss when it comes to how society is operating right now.
Morality should be fixed. It should be concentrated. It should be illegal for men to go outside without wearing a shirt. There's your answer.
I agree. You say it should be legal or illegal?
Illegal.
Oh, it should be illegal.
It
Get
used
the
to be
fuck
illegal.
outta here.
It used to be illegal.
I want to go out. If I want to go out on my front porch wearing no shirt, I should be able to. My property line over your arbitrary collectivist bullshit.
I'm just saying, you gotta weigh both sides here.
That's true. That's true. And in the inspiring words of Vladimir Lenin, you're all useful idiots. But I digress. Let's get to the show. Oh, look at that beanie.
During the recent plague.
There's opportunity, but I don't think the opportunity is being taken to the forefront by you or your sister by pushing the food issue. The big opportunity right now, why people are dying, is SV40.
Here's the problem. The polio vaccine contained a virus called simian virus 40, SV40. It's one of the most carcinogenic materials that is known to man. In fact, it's used now by scientists around the world to induce tumors in rats and guinea pigs in labs. But it was in that vaccine. 98 million people who got that vaccine in my generation got it. And now you've had this explosion of soft tissue cancers in our generation that kill many, 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 many more people than polio ever did.
Cut straight to the chase. You and your sister wrote the book. Tell us why the word vaccine doesn't show up one time in the book.
We are coming off of the biggest public health crisis in our lifetime. And, while I completely agree with your message, I mean, our food supply has a lot to be desired. It's an insidious health problem that's poisoning our kids. I completely agree with that. But the shots are a more immediate and dangerous threat to our population.
Children are still getting the shot today.
Which I think is a crime.
All babies, this is our own government, are recommended to get 3 mRNA shots, and this is synthetic modified mRNA shots, by the time they're 9 months old.
Right.
And
which is crazy.
And we know that we have an abundance of data. We have over 3,400 peer-reviewed published studies showing adverse reactions. We know that in young people, the increased risk of myocarditis is at least 4 times. This is an immediate threat, and these COVID shots should have been pulled off the market a long time ago. And my feeling is if you have a large microphone and you are in the public health space, that you are ethically obligated to speak out about this issue. And I understand that this is not your issue.
Right.
And we've talked about this.
Yeah.
I mean, the trans problem is not my issue, but I authentically feel that this gender modification in children is wrong. So I do speak out about it.
I authentically feel that in any way pushing jabs, particularly on kids, is an absolute war crime, and I've been saying that.
Do you feel like the COVID shots should be pulled off the market?
So that is not a policy stance that I'm going to say. It's not a policy stance.
Are you giving your children? Are you giving your children?
Let's stop right there. What are your thoughts, Andrew? on what they're
Well,
they're
first
bitching
thing
about.
is first thing that comes to mind here. It's the latest part of the video is he's like, I'm not willing to take a risk, and take a position on this. Okay, well then why you out and making a public position on anything? But they have been not exactly transparent in what they've been talking about and here in this video, in the testing, and they just know better, and they'll always know better, and there's never any variables that they don't account for because there's money on the line, and public opinion
There
is only swayed so much by the news media.
There's a lot of money on the line. It doesn't just go into the healthcare and the pharmaceutical sphere, but it also a lot of money on the line for the sweeps. I mean, that's why they pushed the narrative for so long, in order to entrap people to this mindset, and that's why they take it all off air, mainstream, and nobody's really talking about it, but it's still in the back of the psyche. I mean, psychology 101, right? So now you have this scenario where, I mean, the COVID vaccines are here, and they're they've been authorized for children, and you have another aspect of the vaccination process that has been added to the list for infants, and the fact is now you're giving 3 shots to infants,
Yeah,
before they're even 1, and the ramifications of that, we don't necessarily know, because as you said, there's really no real transparency, because we have this fight between the so-called experts on 2 sides, and the ones that should be probably going out of their way to discuss what the negative drawbacks are relatively silent. I mean, there are those names that have the big, as she said, the big microphone, that are trying to say their piece, but it's few and far between. And then you have those that the checks are being written, so they become the talking head narrative pointers towards why this is a good thing and why we should continue to push it. But it was fast tracked, and we don't really know. We're still learning about it because it was fast tracked. Anything else to add?
no, I mean, the longer the Make America Healthy Again operates, the more realistic chance we have of more transparency coming through. But that's only as long as they have people that are willing to play ball.
I agree. I do. I like this concept of Make America Healthy Again, because I think it is putting out there in the public viewpoint that we need a change, but we're not going down the right path. It's like that meme with the 2 roads, right? One leading towards the haunted house in the darkness with the lightning strike, and one to paradise, right? And we're still trying to figure out, well, which road's better? And most people are going down the bad path. Most people are choosing the negative influence of it, when we should just sit down, have a discussion, bring about some discourse. You give your opinion and bring your facts to coincide with your opinion, and the other side does the same thing, and let's compromise on what this situation should all be about, and that's the health of a nation. It should always be back to health, but instead it's, as you put it, it's money and drive for some sort of authoritarian power for everybody. Everybody's little authoritarians.
And you got to think, the people that are coming and going throughout the country, it's a never-ending cycle. It's a revolving door. So it's harder to maintain a stable, research and statistics model. So you got to keep that in mind too. It's they're spending more money trying to, well, in that particular area of concentration, because it's so unstable. They're spending more money trying to maintain that stability than they're actually producing results with, outside of trying to maintain a stable data set.
Well, let's jump back into it. So I'm sure that we'll pause it again.
Earned a shot. Are you going to give your shot?
No.
Okay, and why not?
I think that makes no sense.
Why?
From what?
Because you have reluctance about their safety.
Hold on.
Right.
Hold on. Can I respond to this?
Yeah.
So this issue of over-prescribing medications for kids, the schedule for kids specifically. Hold on. You seem to be drawing a line of whether I'm calling for an immediate ban as a policy platform versus what I'm saying.
Personally, just personally. Can you just say personally?
Personally, I think it's an absolute travesty how we've been misled, how these were fast tracked.
Personally, do you feel like the shot should be pulled off the market? Yes or no?
I'll give you my personal opinion. I think there should be absolutely no mandates.
So yes.
Hold on.
Okay.
I think that we have an opportunity the next year to truly reset science. This is what I feel. And we have an opportunity to have Jay Bhattacharya, who's a close friend, who I, strongly push to be at the NIH, to call everyone together, review the science, have truth and reconciliation, bring that out to people, and have a process for that. Okay,
so
I think it's a general. So Jack.
So the answer is no. So the answer is no.
Right,
that is a policy position that I'm calling for the shots to be immediately pulled from the market.
No, you're not answering the question. You're doing exactly what your training
hold on, Jack.
That's the reason we're sitting here.
Jack. I am saying that as a policy position, I think that we should have absolute data transparency, no mandates.
We have too much data.
Okay,
Danny just had Kevin McKiernan on the damn podcast. Let me talk.
Jack,
you let me talk now.
Hold on.
You let me talk.
Let me ask you a question. And this.
All right.
I'll let you talk.
They're getting a little heated, and I think that's the issue that we have. I'm gonna go off of that, and then I'm gonna let you jump, because I think you can probably bring up another piece. But I think the issue that we have right now is nobody is willing to talk. Everybody thinks that their opinion, especially in the sphere of the internet, and when you get a microphone in front of your face and you're in front of a camera, especially when you're a big person, relatively known in the spheres of Twitter, especially big accounts, you get full of you get too big for your britches. But that goes to society in general. I don't think people are willing to just speak. I think everything's gotten so political in like the last 20 years that we're allowing the tribalism to eat us away. And we're not willing to just sit there and actually allow somebody, like in this scenario, why argue? Why? I mean, let the man talk, then you say your piece. Let's find a solution in between. So, but to get into this chaotic mix of arguing and bitching because you don't like what someone's about to say or has been saying, and then you try to cut in and interrupt, and then they interrupt, and then you what is the point of that? You're just not, at that point, you're not talking.
Well, I'll go off as a thing I saw on Twitter, X or whatever, yesterday, and it was one of the Bitcoin podcasts. I kind of tie this in because the guy's wearing a Bitcoin Santa hat. But one of the crypto
knew you'd do
podcasters,
that.
yeah, and he was talking. He had tweeted, whatever you want to call it. Some guy had threw up like a mismanagement technique sheet or something like that, and I recognized it immediately. It was basically describing Enneagram strategy type 6. Is that you go back over the information. It didn't matter that it was settled last week. You want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and you it's like the thing with Elon Musk. He's saying, we need to make sure the numbers are right. We need to make sure that all the safety protocols, even though you do it because you want to follow the law, you want to make sure that you're not doing any causing any issues or any stress, but really you're just avoiding the problem altogether. And that's what I think.
Are you saying, well, I took the damn shot. Leave me alone. I can't do it, Jordan Peterson. Leave me a damn alone. Or I can't do it, Jordan Peterson. Refer to Mark Pulse. Dude can make Mark can do the best Jordan Peterson impression. But that is a scenario that you're referring to. Am I good? Like I did what you asked me to do, but why are you still throttling me with this and that? It's like, well, because you fell into their trap, Jordan. This is direct to Jordan Peterson. You fell into their trap.
I don't know.
But I cut you off.
It's useful if you want to be respectful of the person to try to address their issues, but the more you try to address it, the more frustrating it becomes, because it feels like not only they don't respect what you're actually trying to do for them, and that it feels like the time is being wasted and solutions are being avoided.
Will do. Let's see if they come up with a solution by jumping in. We've only gotten like 3 minutes into this, and we've already talked more than they have. So let's try to let them talk.
Okay.
This is not like a debate. I don't see this as a debate. I actually legitimately.
I don't think it's a debate either.
Hold on, Jack. Why are you so angry?
Because I don't trust you.
Okay. Well,
I think you're full of shit. And Mary just uncovered why you're full of shit. Because you can't say yes or no. Let me just tell you something, Callie. When you say to the American public that my children can't have the shot, so we can't say anything for anybody else, to me, that's incongruous.
So you would argue that Trump and Biden should come out, Trump and RFK should come out with an immediate ban of the shot today?
Absolutely. It should have been done a long time ago.
My point
is
was
that your recommendation?
It should have happened with Operation Warp Speed.
It should have happened in the first month.
Correct.
I think as a policy process, we need it. We need to have truth and reconciliation.
Let's talk about the policy process of the swine flu when we had 70 injured kids and we pulled it off the market.
Hold on. What is the debate? I'm saying there should be an immediate review of the data.
That's not the answer.
I'm giving my answer.
Yeah,
Jack.
but that's not the answer.
Jack,
let's let Callie finish his thought.
I'm giving my answer. And then I sincerely want to hear from you if you are giving a presentation to the administration, what your detailed argument would be to pull the shots universally today. And that's not like a debate. I actually want to understand what my answer right now is, that the mandates, especially for kids, the mandates in general, are an absolute crime. The way science has been hidden on this is a crime. The way they've been fast-tracked and pushed is a crime. The way they have been covering up other therapeutics is a crime.
But we shouldn't pull it.
Hold on. And that my policy process would be absolute transparency. Absolute transparency.
Do you know how many people died in the first month following the rollout of the COVID shots?
Yes or no?
Jack,
yes or no?
Jack,
do you know the number?
Jack, what's
you're
with the
a lobbyist
animosity?
guy.
No.
Let's go.
Jack, what's with the animosity?
Dude, I told you already.
Let's take a breath.
I don't trust you
You don't
worth
know.
a damn.
Okay. Why?
Well, hold on. Do you know how many people died the first month?
No.
700. And that's that were
So
reported
it's
to
10x compared to the swine flu that was pulled in 76.
Jack, what would be your argument if you're talking theoretically to a leader who's making this decision?
I just gave it to you.
What would the
just 10x change?
Walk the listeners through, like for the
No,
immediate.
I don't want to walk the listeners through. I want to walk you through.
Walk me through. What, Jack? I'm not making these decisions.
I got news for you. I got news for you. The way you sold yourself to the people in DC would say otherwise.
You have the ear of Kennedy and Trump.
I got news for you.
Let's say you.
Well,
right now they're basically arguing. Let me finish. Let me fucking finish. No, I'm just playing. No. What were you gonna say? I was just gonna say.
I pulled off that thing I was talking about. If you want, I can share it to the screen real quick.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay.
But what they're arguing right now on what the best possible situation is, right? Like the one dude is basically saying, well, we should articulate the facts and we should have more. He's basically calling for, we need transparency. We need to look things over. We need to intellectually decide for ourselves whether or not this is a good thing or not. It's obviously not good things are coming of it, but we need to have an open dialect of transparency and review the information and find out what can we do to either make it better or just deplete it down the line, period. And then the other side is arguing that we should just go full on authoritarian and just ban it outright. So I mean, let's go off of what you're sharing us, and what do you think?
Well, I'll just go ahead and read it for people that are just listening. And it says, general interference with organizations and production. Insist on doing everything through channels. Never permit shortcuts to be taken in order to expedite decisions. Make speeches. Talk as frequently as possible and at a great length. Illustrate your points by long anecdotes and accounts of personal experience. Never hesitate to make a few appropriate patriotic comments. When possible, refer to all matters to committees for further study and consideration. Attempt to make the committees as large as possible, never less than 5 people. Bring up irrelevant issues as frequently as possible. Haggle over precise wording or communications, minutes, or resolutions. Refer back to matters decided upon at the last meeting and attempt to reopen the questions or availability of that decision. Advocate caution by reasonable and urgent, and urge your fellow conferences, the people you're talking to be reasonable and avoid haste with might until avoid haste which might result in embarrassment or difficulty later on, and be worried about the property of any other decision. Raise the question of whether such actions are in as it's contemplated lies within the jurisdiction of the group, or whether it might conflict with the policy of some higher echelon.
That was a mission.
Sorry. That's my bad. Trying to look around this thing, it's a little hard. I'm crazy, like a fox.
So to bring that to how they're interacting, and to go with what you just read, what does that define that in your own words?
Well, you in a way, it's you're weeding out things, right? You're trying to make sure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And if for some reason you missed one, well, then you got to go back and double check everything, and you're wasting everybody's time.
And honestly, bickering back and forth and not coming up with reasonable solutions because we're not listening to each other. We're not actively listening. We're not having a discussion we've lost this discord. Is my side, my tribe is better than your tribe, and this and that. Like, we're back to this grade A scenario. Yes, human beings are pack animals, like they are pack predators. So there, it's going to be in the historical and natural sense. So it is going to be we're trying to survive in some capacity, right? But we need to get that mentality out of it, out of our own mindset, because we do live in a modern era where we have so much more that can define us, but we're not. We're allowing dictation define us.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I find that we're falling into the trap that it's sort of like, you know, in the cartoons where they have the box and the stick and they lay out the food right there to try to entrap. Like Elmer Fudd is trying to hunt Bugs Bunny or whatever. It's sort of like that's what we're trying to set up. But but we end up entrapping ourselves because we're being outsmarted by who we're chasing. Because Bugs Bunny always outsmarted Elmer Fudd. That was the whole point of the comedy. The Roadrunner always outsmarted Wile E. Coyote because, I mean, he was smarter and faster.
Yeah. Well, we all give up something first. The strategies we don't willingly participate in. It's just something unconsciously we practice, right? And so, in this example, we use this as a way to avoid, risk, but at that same time, we don't have any security, any motivation to be to think I can take that's myself. I had to rely on other people. The courage.
Yeah. So, well, let's see what else they have to say. I don't know if there's going to be anything more that they're going to say that we already don't know, but I mean, it just on a psychological level, I think we know where humanity is. We're pretty much fucking ourselves by falling into this tribalist aspect of life. We're going backwards rather than forwards.
Happen to know that's true.
Okay. So I think you might be getting bad information, but
I don't think so.
I think you are. But what is the argument? This isn't a debate. Like we should get this out. Like.
Well, we would if you just said yes, but we're not.
That I want to immediately ban the shots.
Correct. That's the answer.
I don't think that's what the science says. That's not the policy of RFK. That's not the policy of Trump.
RFK. So RFK doesn't want to pull the shots.
No, he's not calling to immediately pull. He's calling for utter truth. Jay Bhattacharya is calling for utter truth. That is what I think we have an opportunity to do. I'm not calling the shots in any way, shape, or form, but I am very passionate, Jack, about transformational change right now and coming up with recommendations for true transformational change. I think the way to change the paradigm on this stuff is, to be frank, absolutely not coming out with immediate bans on things like this. So hold on. I think it is having a national conversation and a reset of science and having a full truth and unbiased science. We both know that the truth right now is that they're not asking these questions, and there's huge cover-up of getting the right information and getting the right data. We all know that. We all know that they've already made recommendations to the American people for kids, and that there's huge institutional pressure to have any data that second guesses the guidance that they've already given to people's children. Imagine, I see it, right? I know about this from my experience, Jack. There's incredible institutional pressure to have anyone look. Well, imagine the liability of that. Imagine the liability if the data you're talking about actually comes out. So that's what we're. Hold on. That's what we're.
This is infuriating.
I think
the data's been sitting there for years now.
We'll walk us through it.
Hold on a second. I think the obvious biggest problem with this is that nobody can be informed on the truth about it, because I can have somebody in here like Kevin McKiernan, who's an expert in this stuff, and then YouTube will pull the thing off of the internet,
which has
completely,
happened.
which just happened. So there's no transparency on one side. Anybody who questions these products on the internet gets completely silenced. I think that is the number one issue,
Which
with it.
is a
like
crime.
we're not going out and banning Fruit Loops. Everybody knows Fruit Loops are bad for you. Everybody
Right.
knows smoking Newports are bad for you. But
And
people
you have a
choose to do it.
choice.
You have
Right.
a
You
choice
have a
to do it.
choice to do it and a choice
Yeah.
not to do it.
And I want to say something about RFK because we have been fighting so hard the last 4 years to get this information out to the public. Kennedy was our big hope. Kennedy was he was the one that's going to, get in a position of power. And even if he didn't win the presidency, he has this gigantic microphone. And then all of a sudden, his message shifts. His focus shifts. He's our nuclear bomb. We're in World War III. He's gonna take down Japan. All of a sudden, the nuclear bomb, the target has shifted to food. And
Right,
and
Nicole came on and talked a lot
hold
about
on, let
food,
me
yeah.
finish. And this coincided with this meteoric rise with Casey and Callie Means, who none of us had seen. I am curious, and don't answer yet because I want to keep talking.
Okay.
But I am curious about what you were doing during the pandemic. But we're not sure. But you came on and great. We love your message. And I have told you this. We want you to join forces with us. But and I don't, you say it's a purity test. It's an ethical test. I mean, you have this gigantic microphone and you have the ability. I mean, you have the ear of Trump and Kennedy. And I'm also very curious about that.
I
You
wouldn't
do.
say that.
You're the one that orchestrated the call between Kennedy and Trump. And Kennedy says this. This is in his speech, that you orchestrated the call between Kennedy and Trump to have Kennedy drop out of the race and endorse Trump. And that is very, how did that happen? Very curious. So,
That goes to the
Kennedy's
history.
focus has shifted, and that's our big concern. And it coincides with your rise. I mean, 6 months ago, I looked this up. You had about 19,000 followers on Twitter 6 months ago. Now you have 230 something thousand. It's amazing. Good for you, because you have figured out how to get that information that you want to get that out. And that is commendable. And that's what we all want. We want our message to get out. We can't get it out. And so maybe you could tell us your secrets, how to do that.
We can get into, but high level, do we not feel optimistic about the moment that we're in for
I
true
don't.
trans?
No.
Okay.
No more.
Why don't you feel
No more.
optimistic?
I don't think Bobby is who I thought he was.
Why?
Just the things that have developed over the last probably 4 to 6 weeks. These globalist entities that are being placed in the cabinet right now.
I'm not going
There's
into
a
cabinet.
lot of
We know that.
if the shots get pulled off the market, a whole industry of biotech is going to go down. It's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah,
the
I
people
talked
with
about that a lot.
invested,
Now, you heard her say point blank that there was two things going on there. One, if the mRNA got taken away, that all of the bio people, okay, that are, Silicon Valley, this is the new gold for Silicon Valley, by the way, but all the bio people would be very upset. Now, would you be surprised
Hello, Doug.
if Casey and Callie were actually part owners in a biotech company?
I want to ask you the Surgeon General thing. Are you for Casey Means or not for Casey Means?
Well, I'll tell you who I am for, Glenn.
I just wanted to say before we jump into Glenn Beck, I was not expecting this. I haven't got to this far. I wanted to watch this together, but
Okay.
there's Andrew's hero.
Actually, I saw Glenn once at
I
the
know you
Villages of
did.
Florida, and I went down there to say, "Will you talk about Michael Savage?" Because I was listening to Michael
Oh,
Savage
yeah.
back then, and he turned around
had-
and he looked at me and he said, "Thanks for coming," and then he left.
Why were you in Florida?
I was just living down
Big-
there.
Oh, you were living in Florida? I forgot you.
I was either
your
living in
family-
Florida or it was either I was living in Florida or I was near it because I was in Savannah. One of the two.
That's
If
funny.
I ever get to at that level, I'm going to bring that up, even if Michael isn't alive yet. Just just to make it a point.
Oh yes, the glory days of the old right versus right feud between Glenn Beck and Michael Savitz.
Don't forget about Art Bell.
Art Bell is Art Bell, man. Art Bell is just truth.
Michael didn't like Art Bell.
Well, Michael can go fuck himself.
He didn't like anybody. He still doesn't.
No,
He likes
really
Trump.
does. He does like Trump. That is the difference. I'm Bell Nation, while Andrew is Savage Nation.
Okay. Well, let's get back into the Savage episode.
Okay.
I'm for all of those Americans, the hundreds of thousands of doctors seeking truth, honesty, and dignity in our medical system. Once again, that is what I'm for. That is what propelled MAHA into existence. That is what propelled Bobby Kennedy into the position of running for president of the United States. That's why I joined the campaign. It really is about listening to this group of doctors that did the right thing during the COVID pandemic, that spoke up when it was dangerous to speak up, that lost their licenses. And so when I hear from that base concern or research about individuals in and around MAHA, I have to listen to them. And I do listen to them because oftentimes they are right. They're brave and they're principled. So the concern I've been hearing from that group of people is that MAHA has, you know, any movement, MAGA had this issue too, of infiltration by different groups that are more self-serving than they are for the movement itself. And so just one example, Casey Means is a founder of a company that does biometric harvesting. She's very close with many of the big data biometric harvesting companies in Silicon Valley. And this, I know several of these people. You do not want them running in a government position that is responsible for everybody equally, right?
Okay, so wait. What is bio? What is that? They're harvesting what?
Well, so biometric data is anything between heart rate data to all of the data that is collected from your Fitbit or high glucose monitor. Okay. It could be labs. Okay. It could be, and then there's all the DNA harvesting and big data that's being done. So, you know, I think that the base, MAHA really came from medical freedom and medical sovereignty, and the idea that we have to keep conflicts of interest out of the government. And so when I, you know, see some stuff going on that we could be doing better, right? Our job, and I learned this from the MAGA base, our job is to continue to seek the best possible people for government that are truly putting the principles of this country first, the principles of American sovereignty first.
So you wrote yesterday, it's very strange. It doesn't make any sense. I was promised that if I supported RFK Jr. in the Senate confirmation, that neither of these siblings would be working under HHS or an appointment, and that people much more qualified would be. I don't know if RFK very clearly lied to me or what's going on. It has been clear in recent conversations that he is reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions, and it isn't President Trump. With regards to the siblings, there is something very artificial and aggressive about them, almost as if they were bred and raised as Manchurian assets. Wow.
Then RFK Jr.'s nomination would have failed. And Bill Cassidy very openly said, if you want my vote, you need to agree to a long list of limitations on what you can do, and you will be required to meet with me regularly and to include me in decision making. And if you don't, I'm going to call you before this committee and there will be repercussions. And in order to get his vote, RFK agreed to these constraints. And here is Bill Cassidy, when announcing his decision to vote for RFK Jr., saying that he got huge, very extraordinary and unusual concessions from RFK about limitations on his power and the role that Bill Cassidy particularly would play in all HHS decision making.
Mr. Kennedy and the administration committed that he and I would have an unprecedentedly close collaborative working relationship if he is confirmed. We will meet or speak multiple times a month. This collaboration will allow us to work well together and therefore to be more effective. Mr. Kennedy has asked for my input into hiring decisions at HHS beyond Senate-confirmed positions, and he has also committed that he would work within current vaccine approval and safety monitoring systems and not establish parallel systems. If confirmed, he will maintain the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices recommendations without changes.
Interests in mRNA are going to use every tactic they can to keep it alive.
Yes.
And so that's why we're suspicious. And maybe you're an unwitting agent.
yeah.
Maybe they're using you and you have no idea.
Maybe.
But we just there's a technique called misdirection. It's a war technique.
Right.
And it just kind of all falls into place.
But gaming this out. So we write a book eviscerating the pharmaceutical industry. We go on podcasts eviscerating the pharmaceutical industry. I think you're giving me way.
That brings up a good point, misdirection. But to the point of all of this, because we've culminated to what this episode is really about, right? And all these narratives are about is to confuse the public, and get the public fighting over an issue that really we shouldn't be fighting about, while they politic behind the scenes and raise money contributions, kick back to our parasitic class, bureaucrats, and as well as elected officials to get their point across, and that is their industry initiatives, and that coincides to the mRNA. I mean, what's your opinion on mRNA and what they started with COVID, and it goes beyond that to where we're at now?
Well, let's start with this. You talk about the misdirection. They use misdirection as a way to shield their true objectives, right? I mean, it's pretty easy to understand. What the thing is, when it's complicated, so they'll seed things out months to years in advance. So by the time they get to what they're doing now, it's been in the works for 5-7 years, and it's been funded and researched. The morality of the whole situation really is up in the air. Depends on when they're doing it, like they did with COVID, right? They were doing it in China. In China, they're talking about building artificial people for their armies. If they're doing that now, and they're talking about that now, how long has the United States been doing stuff like that behind the scenes in third world countries or whatever, wherever they have these things in operations? So,
well,
it's
Glenn Beck. Speaking of that, Glenn Beck brought up a good point on the Manchurian Candidate. I mean, is there a segment of just pure assets that are infiltrated into input into all aspects of government to sway, to persuade and manipulate our elected and unelected officials in government to say this or do that, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I mean, I think it was Tucker Carlson said that they did that up there, and they've had presidents that have played that role to misdirect people. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them at all. This is a long and extended, very young country. I should say overextended in their capacity to make sound decisions. They're thinking way too far ahead with not enough resources to sustain it.
Speaking of presidents that fit that mold of a Manchurian Candidate, Jerry Ford comes to mind, in my opinion, because he was the perfect little yes man to continue the final 2 years when Nixon was forced out after the incident. Which, ironically, if you go further into it, and what the Watergate scandal may have been about, could have potentially been snooping for not ways to derail the election and but also to find out certain facts through surveillance mechanisms that the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party, the Uniparty, have been entailed into this pedo ring for a very long time. But I'm not going to go that far. You can go down that rabbit hole yourself. But the fact of the matter is once Nixon was ousted, it makes a lot of sense that Jerry Ford was a perfect little Manchurian candidate. Yes, man.
Makes sense.
So
I think
I digress. So go back to your point.
I'm pretty sure that's who Tucker Carlson was talking about. I couldn't remember exactly who it was, but I think that's who he's talking about.
Might have been. I couldn't tell you. So he would know more than we, considering he's a former asset.
Yeah, he's connected. He's just you grow up in Washington D.C. Of course, that's going to happen, right? Especially if you're somebody in the news media.
I don't think he's personally connected, although he was obviously he got very major and was connected with Fox News and all this and that. So, and we all know that. I mean, Mockingbird's real. It never went away. The CIA does gravitate towards corporate entities. Most of these corporate entities are the Intel network. There's no doubt about it. And Tucker Carlson, it wasn't. I mean, he may not have personally been connected as quote unquote be an asset, but wasn't his father in the CIA though?
Yeah, I believe so.
But he has. Yeah, so it was either the CIA or the NSA. So even if he's not personally connected, it would make. It kind of makes sense of how he was able to get ahead very easily because of those connections. And so I think it's fantastic that he's actually away from that. I don't know. Maybe it's a misdirection. Maybe he's always been a part of it, and he's the controlled opposition on an independent platform now. Who knows? Or maybe he's legitimately changed his tune and he is getting us the information out there on his independent platform with his large following that he was able to use when he got canned from Fox News. I don't know. I'm not going to second guess anything because we don't know. I mean,
yeah.
But the fact is he does bring up very good points that the public needs to actually know. So it kind of makes me wonder, perhaps he is genuine. I mean, or he could be controlled opposition. Who knows? I mean, misdirection.
It's a lot safer to be in other countries where this kind of stuff doesn't happen, I'd imagine.
Explain that.
Well, I mean, when there's a lot of over jailing. You could probably bet that there's a lot of shenanigans going on in centers of power, and they're just going after anybody and everybody can to try to avoid the fear that they're experiencing.
Well, I'm going to push back on that. I think in other countries, I think it's a better scenario if you have the means to go where you're treated best, and then you can utilize that means that you have specifically in a monetary segment, a monetary structure, to, if not pay off, just use that as a way to invest. So that would be effectively a payoff to bring your business to those countries, and then they'll effectively just leave you alone because you're a net positive to them because you have the means. But for those that are like peasants, like in the peasant class in most countries, you're not better off. You're probably worse off in those countries. So you want to have the means. But we're now about ready to hit the hour mark, And there's a lot more to this video, but I think we've kind of hit the nail in the coffin when it comes to
Yeah.
this. Any last words to what they're talking about as opposed to the vaccines or mRNA or the politics and the tribalism or everything that we've pretty much discussed today? What any last
I
final
wouldn't
word?
be surprised if they were able to artificially infuse like different drugs into the food supply eventually, because that's something they were talking about with COVID as a response. And
Boom.
that kind of experiment doesn't go away when people are motivated.
Well, it's not drugs. I mean, the key word here, and we heard it. It is a very fulfilling, enriching industry of biotech engineering, and that is what mRNA technology is. Not a drug; it's a technology. I mean,
Yeah.
and they are beginning to implement this into the food supply. I mean, just think about earlier this year, or actually last year, to end Biden's administration, the culling of the chickens with this bird flu shenanigans that continued under Trump as he began his presidency in January. I mean, the reason they're doing that is if they kill all the chickens with money of these farmers, especially these small farmers, they can force them in their regulatory policies to bring about vaccination sequences to where they have to vaccinate these chickens with their new mRNA vaccination schedule. And that in itself is going to restructure genetic coding, and that's going to be in your food supply because we eat the chickens, we eat the eggs. So I mean, you're gradually influencing the food supply with this mRNA, and that's what was so dangerous in the pandemic years as they rolled out this fast track. I know it goes all the way back to 2004, 2003, 2004, something like that, but the peak of it was this fast track clinical trial scenario and this emergency authorization during the pandemic stage that Donald Trump signed off on with Operation Warp Speed. He is his words, the father of the vaccine. Lots of payoffs, and it was a way to transition people to this narrative of why we need it. And so you gradually sequence it into the food supply in some capacity, whether it's crops, whether it's livestock, everything we eat. So I think the moral of the story is try to agorism. Agorism is the way, everybody. I think the moral of the story is try to become as self-sufficient as you possibly can, and even that's hard to do.
Yeah.
I know Andrew would probably be like, well, just go where you're treated best, but it's not just the United States or the West that's implementing this. It's the whole world that's implementing this. This is a global conspiracy.
Pretty much.
So, but it's very difficult to implement self-sustainability because and be as sufficient as possible in your own reach, because sometimes you do have to gravitate towards the outer world, but you just, I mean, be as authentic as you possibly can in your own life and try to strive to be divorced from the system, and like the title of Doug and Stacy's YouTube channel right there, because that's what it came from. Off grid, right? Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be off grid per se, but because not everybody's built for that. But you do have to be as self-sufficient as you possibly can be.
Right. I can only hope
Anything.
Things get easier.
Mm-hmm. Anything more to conclude to this episode, Andrew?
No, I think we've had quite the episode today. So
I think we have too. So make sure you like, subscribe, share this. I hope you enjoyed it. This is what we cannot stop talking about, because the legacy media is going to continue to stop talking about it, because they already have, because they don't want you to know anything. They can't. I mean, the official narrative is the official narrative, and that's all their talking point is, because they are a drive of Operation Mockingbird. So the government wants you dead. That's why you need to look up to the skies and be vigilant, because they're proving it up in the skies. So, but other than that, there is an old man that's right behind you, dude. He's back.
Really?
Why the fuck does he keep doing this?
He's got a problem.
He does have a problem. He does have a problem. Do whatever you do, don't look behind you, because he's unzipping his pants.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious, dude. It's
I gotta
quite
run away now.
amusing. Yeah, I would
gotta run
probably
away.
do that, dude. He's coming. He's right behind you. He's right behind your chair, dude. He's carving a hole in your chair right now.
You lie.
Gotcha. Just kidding. But with that, stay vigilant. Don't do what Andrew just did. And stay away from old creepy guys that want to unzip their pants and carve holes into the back of nice chairs.
Captain's chair.
Have a good day. Have a good day, everybody.
Peace.
I'm going to have to leave now, but I was sure I came in by that door over there. Hey, man, where's the door to get out of here?
Oh, it's right over there, sir.
Right over where?
The exit sign? Exit sign? It's that door right there.
That red sign?
Yeah, just go right that way.
Okay.
I think it went down the wrong door.
Where am I? Hey, what the fuck's wrong with you? That's not the right door.
Sir, you're gonna want to go to the one with the exit. You went to the door to the side there.
I went to the right doors and where you pointed me to, you fuck.
I pointed you to the exit.
Man, you're fucking with the wrong guy.
I'm sorry.
You see this bulge on my hip? You know what that is?
That's a gun.
That's a Glock. You're fucking with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Don't ever send me to the wrong